Today I'd like to talk about the movie You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix, just before he starred in Joker. And his character in this movie shares a lot of attributes with Arthur Fleck in some ways, and he also is wildly divergent from Arthur Fleck in other ways, but the similarities are striking, given that these movies were made and released in close proximity to one another. In You Were Never Really Here, just like in Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix character lives with his mother. His mother's mentally ill, or kind of mentally slipping into senility. And also in both movies, the character played by Joaquin Phoenix is struggling with trauma from his childhood. But in the movie You Were Never Really Here, Joaquin Phoenix has a physique that is the exact opposite of what he looked like in Joker. In Joker, he was rail thin, anorexic looking. This movie, he's a big, beefy guy. You would not believe the kind of transformation that must have taken place. I mean, I'm imagining this film was shot before Joker. But it is amazing how different he looks here. He looks like a guy who could kick your ass in this movie, unlike Arthur Fleck, who you should probably be afraid of, but for other reasons. You don't really fear him beating you up, but you know that he's kind of on the edge, and he's about to go over the edge. But in this movie, You Were Never Really Here, the character is very controlled. He's a very controlled and contained person, in spite of the trauma that he suffers. And in fact, he goes through these rituals. He abuses in some ways, puts plastic over his face, almost to suffocate himself, because this is something, I guess, that his father did to him when he was a child, and he remembers things from the past. When he was working when he was with the military, when he was with some law enforcement agency, and certain atrocities that he experienced, and these come back in the form of flashbacks. The film itself is done in a way that is not. That might be difficult for some viewers. It's filmed in a manner that is, the one's attention is sometimes riveted upon things that seem tangential to the scene itself. And interestingly, for the film being as violent as it is, there's really no that I can remember, with one exception near the very end, one significant exception. There's no moment where we actually see the violence happen. And so in a way, the catharsis is taken from us as the viewer. We're anticipating this violent, bloody catharsis, but it either always happens kind of off screen, or we see it looming, and then it's already taken place. The movie is about a guy who basically works as a mercenary, basically a hitman, but he's like a hitman for good in that he hunts down and kills pedos, and they seem to be largely high-ranking pedophiles, people who have power, who have taken a child and have sexually abused a child or children. And in that sense, this movie is probably the most pedogate. What do I say? Not friendly. That sounds weird to say, pedogate friendly, but most friendly to the mindset or the worldview of those of us who know the truth of pedogate, who know that there is an endemic problem of people in the ruling class, high echelon people in politics, in entertainment industry, in the military, what have you, sexually exploiting children. This movie pretty much takes that as a given. And I remember one reviewer bitching about that, saying, "Oh, this is like all the Pizzagate crazies are gonna really like this movie," and he didn't like that. but anyway, that's the most interesting thing, or that is an interesting thing about it. We see Joaquin Phoenix go on. I almost said a rampage, but it's not really a rampage. It's a controlled, series of killings in order to rescue this little girl who's been who is the sexual slave of this politician, and he was originally hired to do this by some lower level politician who'd been working for this higher level guy, who, if I'm remembering right, is a governor, and some state senator had hired him to for the job. But of course, it all goes awry, and there's lots of carnage that takes place. I'm not going to give away too much, but ultimately things are rectified in a way in that the little girl is rescued. But we're left with the question: well, where are things going to go now for both of these characters? For both Joaquin Phoenix's character, and for the character of this little girl, both of whom are in this sort of disassociative state. Both of whom are, there are moments where we see them counting backwards, and this is like a disassociative thing to try to remove one's body, one's actual consciousness from the trauma that's being inflicted upon one, and so there's a lot of parallels there. There's even a scene after he rescues her where she embraces him in a way that seems semi-suggestive, and he says, no, you don't have to do that. But she's been, again, brought up, she's been so traumatized and so and she's so in such a state of disassociation that she just kind of thinks that she's supposed to be with these men in a sexual way, and she's like 10 years old or so. So very disturbing subject matter, but again, something that really draws attention to Pedogate in a way that I don't think any other movie that I can remember does. It doesn't speak in code. It doesn't show things that maybe represent this kind of behavior or this kind of activity. It's right there. It's right there for all to see. So it's definitely worth watching and worth giving your support to for that very reason. And that's all I'll say about it, actually. I'm interested to hear from anybody else who's seen it, to hear your thoughts. But my name is Andy Nowicki. You can check out my work at ultrarightnovelist.com.